However, Jiang Yinyan's actions were seen by Zhang Chuan, and, consequently, Zhang Chuan's gaze subtly darkened. Jiang Yinyan released Yunyan's wrist, but didn't let go of her hand entirely. He then looked at Zhang Chuan, his eyes calm as water when their gazes met. Prosecutor Zhang, that was very thoughtful of you. Thank you. Zhang Chuan met Jiang Yinyan's gaze for a moment. No need for thanks. She's my junior, and I should look after her. Besides, she is young Master Yan's niece after all, and out of respect for young Master Yan, I would have shielded her from that blow. Jiang Yinyan raised an eyebrow slightly. Oh, I heard Prosecutor Zhang isn't one to consider personal favors. It's rare for you to give me face today. You're too kind, Zhang Chuan said calmly. Jiang Yinyan pulled Yunyan closer, then lowered his head and asked her with a smile, have you thanked Prosecutor Zhang? Some favors can't be left unpaid. Yunyan stared at his large hand gripping hers. Though not forceful, it certainly wouldn't allow her to break free. Her heart pounded quickly as she said, I've already thanked him. Jiang Yinyan smiled, seemingly satisfied. Young Master Yan, Zhang Chuan said, slowly buttoning his shirt and picking up his uniform jacket. Since she calls you uncle, there are some things you should let go of. She's not a child anymore. She knows who she owes and who she doesn't. Yunyan's heart pounded like thunder. Zhang Chuan's words had a hidden meaning. Jiang Yinyan looked at Zhang Chuan, laughing instead of getting angry. So what if she calls me uncle? What do you intend to do? Zhang Chuan wasn't annoyed, his tone calm. Jiang Yinyan released Yunyan's hand and took 2 steps forward, closer to Zhang Chuan. 2 men of similar height, at this moment, adopted a confrontational stance. The host's scalp tingled, thinking, don't let them start fighting. I've never heard of these two having a personal grudge. Jiang Yinyan spoke, enunciating each word. I'll do whatever I want. What do you do to me? Try me. Zhang Chuan smiled slightly. Jiang Yinyan's lips curled into a cold, meaningful smile. There will be plenty of time in the future. Jiang Yinyan left before the banquet ended, taking Yunyan with him. Of course, from leaving the venue to getting into the car, Jiang Yinyan remained very calm. So calm that it seemed as if he had attended a completely uneventful banquet. But when they left the banquet hall, Jiang Yinyan draped his jacket over Yunyan. Everyone saw this clearly and understood its true meaning. During the entire car ride, Jiang Yinyan remained silent. He leaned back in his seat, his eyes closed. Yunyan knew he wasn't asleep. He was merely resting with his eyes closed. One of his arms was still resting on her waist, and he would slightly tighten his grip when the car turned. She felt uneasy about this atmosphere. Another person who was uneasy was Old Liu. Although he was driving, he would occasionally glance at the rearview mirror. Yunyan, close to Jiang Yinyan, could clearly smell that he had been drinking. Not in the banquet hall, but likely during the discussions with those few people. The conversation must have gone well, as the smell of alcohol on him was quite strong. The atmosphere in the car was very oppressive, and Yunyan once again felt a familiar sense of fear. She admitted that lately, Jiang Yinyan had been quite indulgent with her, always easy to talk to, and not as cold as before. She had almost forgotten the initial days of their reunion. Now, that familiar feeling was slowly creeping back. What do you want to say? Jiang Yinyan suddenly spoke. His voice was deep and low, devoid of emotion, making it even more terrifying. Yunyan flinched, suppressing her rapid breathing, and whispered, I'm a little thirsty, I want water. Only then did Jiang Yinyan open his eyes and release her hand. Yunyan got up to pour water. Old Liu slowed the car, ensuring a smoother ride. As Yunyan drank water, she could distinctly feel Jiang Yinyan scrutinizing her, his eyes as sharp as knives. She felt a chill run down her spine and turned to look at him. Indeed, he was staring at her. Perhaps it was related to the darkness of the night, or perhaps it wasn't related at all, but the depths of his eyes were profound, like a vast sea, appearing calm on the surface yet hiding treacherous undercurrents. She felt that if she wasn't careful, she would be swept away, lost forever. Do you want some water? Yunyan asked softly. Jiang Yinyan watched her, then after a moment, said, Feed me. Yunyan complied, poured the water, and moved closer to him. But he didn't take it, still watching her with his eyes. Yunyan pursed her lips, gently pressing the cup against his thin lips. He still showed no intention of drinking, merely asking indifferently, Don't you understand what feed means? Yunyan froze. She understood. Lowering her gaze, she took a sip of water, then slowly leaned closer to him and pressed her lips against his. The man opened his mouth, and in a single motion, devoured her red lips. Yunyan's lips were crushed painfully, but she didn't dodge or avoid. She could only comply, knowing that not doing so would ignite his fury. Fortunately, the man released her. Her lips stung fiercely. Jiang Yinyan, however, raised a hand and pinched her chin, once again scrutinizing her thoroughly, then suddenly smiled. Old Liu, he suddenly said. Old Lu jumped in surprise. Yes, young Master Yin. Do you think she's pretty? Jiang Yinyan's voice was languid yet cold. Yun Yin flinched. She involuntarily recalled a past experience, that hellish experience in the sealed room. Her most immediate reaction was that Jiang Yinyan was going to give her to Old Lu. A shiver of cold ran through her. Old Lu was also greatly startled by such a question. His hand on the steering wheel trembled, and he simply dared not answer. Difficult to answer? Jiang Yinyan asked coldly. Old Lu braced himself, not daring to look in the rearview mirror, and nervously swallowed. Miss Yu is very beautiful. Then Jiang Yinyan chuckled softly. He leaned closer to her, lowering his gaze to scrutinize her face, his tone seemingly nonchalant. This face truly invites trouble. If one isn't careful, it'll be coveted by other men. Jiang Yinyan knew Zhan Chuan would come. Before leaving the banquet hall, he had secretly asked the host, who estimated the time and said that the information he received was roughly set. The few people at the banquet usually got along well, and since there was an important matter to discuss, and it wasn't convenient to talk in detail in the main banquet hall, they went to a smaller function room in the same building as the main banquet hall. That's why Jiang Yinyan was late to realize what had happened there. But in fact, he had been timing everything. When he saw that it was almost time, he forcibly ended the meeting. He hadn't expected to feel something was off as soon as he entered the banquet hall, and only after hearing the host's explanation did he learn what had transpired. What Yinyan feared most was Jiang Yinyan's tone and expression like this. All sorts of past events resurfaced in her mind. She nervously clenched her fingers and whispered to him, "There's nothing between Zhan Chuan and me." "Really? Is that so?" Jiang Yinyan asked her with a smile. "Are you implying that he's purely a selfless public servant, eager to protect the people?" Yun Yan was speechless, unable to defend herself. Jiang Yinyan raised his hand and gently caressed her face. "I understand. Beautiful and delicate women always evoke pity in men." Yun Yan felt very innocent. "I truly didn't know something like this would happen, and I only found out Zhan Chuan was coming after I arrived at the banquet hall. Didn't we both find out at the same time?" Jiang Yinyan's large hand wrapped around her neck, gently holding it. "Don't be so nervous." "What did I say?" Yun Yan's breathing quickened, and she sat there motionless. He chuckled softly. "Do I really scare you that much, "I didn't. Jiang Yinyan stared at her trembling red lips, an uncontrollable tremor. Even if she admitted it, it would be no use. The darkness in his eyes was like the deep night. He leaned closer to her and asked softly, "Then are you afraid of him?" Yun Yan felt shivers of cold washing over her. She whispered, Can you believe me?" "Believe you about what?" Jiang Yinyan slightly raised his face, staring at her as he asked. Yun Yan tried to suppress her fear, her voice very soft. "Believe that I truly am wholeheartedly by your side." Jiang Yinyan looked at her for a long while, then suddenly smiled again. He raised his hand and gently patted her head. "All right." Then he released her, leaned back in his seat, and closed his eyes again. Yun Yan felt as if she had just been standing on the edge of a cliff, half a step away from falling and being smashed to pieces. Only when she slowly released her clenched hands did she realize deep nail marks had been dug into her palms. But to say she was truly relaxed? No. Even Old Lu was tense, Yun Yan could tell. In the past, Old Lu would at most glance at the rearview mirror from time to time, but today, he didn't even dare to look at it. They went straight back to the residence. Jiang Yinyan's residence. Every time Yun Yan was brought here by him, she had the illusion that the moment her feet stepped inside, she was cut off from the world. His residence was simply too quiet, like it was suspended in the clouds. Extremely lonely. As soon as the door closed, Yun Yan was forcefully thrown onto the sofa by Jiang Yinyan. Indeed, all the calmness had just been an illusion. The anger accumulated during the entire journey from the banquet hall home now erupted. "Don't think I don't know what you're thinking." Jiang Yinyan tore away his calm and profound facade, his eyes filled with coldness and fury. His tall body leaned down, one hand braced on the back of the sofa, the other cupping her head. "You're very happy, aren't you?" "Happy about what?" "You weren't happy seeing Zhan Chuan?" Jiang Yinyan sneered, gripping the back of her head, his eyes almost spitting fire. "He got injured protecting you in front of everyone. That must have been a response to your deep affection, wasn't it?" "Jiang Yinyan, I've already told you, there's nothing between him and me." "What? Are you planning to have something with him before revealing it to me?" Jiang Yinyan stared at her face. "The man you've yearned for all these years is standing right in front of you now. Aren't you excited? You're probably already thinking about how to run off with him." Yun Yan remained silent, just looking at him. He narrowed his eyes slightly, his gaze cold. "Did that hit home?" Jiang Yinyan stared down at her, the oppressive feeling intensifying several-fold as he slightly narrowed his eyes. He no longer pressed her aggressively. but his gaze was too sharp. After a long while, he sat on the sofa, his voice cold. Yunyin, my silence doesn't mean I know nothing. Some things you'd best show some decency. Yunyin trembled, turning her face to look at him. His words hurt her more than any vicious insult. You, who are you calling shameless? This meeting, Jiang Yunyin spoke bluntly. Is today the first time you met him? Yunyin froze. That brief moment of her daze completely chilled Jiang Yunyin's gaze. He yanked her over, gritting his teeth. What did you promise me? Yunyin's breathing quickened. Yes, she had promised him before that she wouldn't meet anyone from the Zhan family. That time, it was just because of Jiang Wenjun, just someone associated with the Zhan family, and it had made his face change. But our last meeting was just to discuss Zhou's matters. You know Zhou's situation very well. Yunyin felt an arm about to be crushed by his grip, explaining with difficulty. The Zhan family wants to recognize Zhou. Jiang Yunyin stared at her face. If I hadn't brought it up today, were you planning to keep it completely hidden? Yunyin pursed her lips, then spoke each word distinctly. Yes. Jiang Yunyin narrowed his eyes slightly. You really dare to say that? There was no need for me to tell you. Yunyin braced herself. I wasn't meeting him to reminisce. The entire conversation was about Zhou. There was nothing worth reporting in the first place. But she hadn't expected Jiang Yunyin to know about the meeting. She recalled how he had questioned her before, and now, looking back, she realized there had been signs all along. He must have known. Nothing worth reporting. Jiang Yunyin's large hand changed direction, gripping her slender waist and pressing her whole body against him. Yunyin, I think you've forgotten your place, haven't you? It hasn't even been a year, and you're already thinking of doing things half-heartedly? Rage, like scattered seeds, sprouted wildly in his heart. Jiang Yunyin wasn't without attempts to calm himself, nor had he ignored Yunyin's explanation. She had, after all, told him everything clearly. He should suppress his anger. He should try to believe her just once. But his rage had become a sea, uncontrollable, blazing fiercely, and it wouldn't stop until it had consumed everything, flesh and bone. He thought of Yunyin in her student days, the ardent, chasing gaze in her eyes when she looked at Zhan Chuan, her earnestness and patience when choosing a birthday gift for Zhan Chuan, and how happily she laughed when she was with Zhan Chuan and Jiang Wenjun. He thought even more of the sight of her with Zhan Chuan in the lounge today, and the panic in her eyes the moment she saw him enter the room. Yes, when she looked at Zhan Chuan, she could smile, be calm, be natural, but never terrified. But what about her gaze when she looked at him? Her current wariness, her deep apprehension, falling into his eyes, undoubtedly added fuel to the fire. So much so that he spoke recklessly. Yunyin stared at him in astonishment. Her heart felt as if it had been grazed by a sharp blade, not the deep stab of a knife, but a light, shallow cut, a nameless pain that increasingly burrowed into her bones. Yes, she had indeed almost forgotten her place. Before him, away from others, when it was just the two of them. She wasn't the granddaughter recognized by the Jiang family, nor an enviable CEO's special assistant. She was merely a disgraced heiress, young master Yen of the capital's bed warmer, a woman of no worth. Yunyin smiled, her eyes reddening. She clenched her teeth fiercely and lowered her gaze, saying, How dare I forget? She clenched her teeth fiercely and lowered her gaze, saying, How dare I forget? The status young master Yen has bestowed upon me is a great favor indeed. Her smile was sarcastic. Jiang Yunyin saw it, and his teeth ached with suppressed rage. So disdainful are you? If you thought yourself so noble, you should have had more backbone and not climbed in my bed in the first place. Or perhaps you regret it now. If you'd known Zhan Chuan was so capable, you'd be desperate to beg him, wouldn't you? Jiang Yunyin gripped her chin, his words cold. Yunyin found his words incredibly harsh. She hadn't thought much of it before, as the sarcasm wasn't new, but now, listening to these words, her chest felt terribly stifled, and the pain was unbearable, a choking sensation that left her breathless. Since I'm so worthless, why did you have to bring me to that kind of event tonight? Wouldn't that make you lose face? Yunyin sneered. The storm in Jiang Yunyin's eyes deepened, flickering with unsettling light. He tightened his grip on her. Perhaps it was the sneer on her lips that truly provoked him, for the words he spoke next were even more cruelly cold. What do you think I brought you tonight for? He stared at her face, every word like a knife. It's just to let everyone in the circle know that a woman once so proud has now merely become my plaything. What nobility, what pride. Don't they still have to linger on at my mercy? Yunyin stared at him, tears welling up in her reddened eyes, but she fiercely suppressed them. They fell back into her heart, becoming a torrential downpour. All the aches and pains came flooding in, overwhelming her. Yunyin, you need to understand one thing. Everything you have now, and Yu Zhuanzhou's smooth progress on his projects, all of it is granted by me. Jiang Yunyin gazed at her with icy eyes. So you'd best stay obediently by my side, get rid of those messy thoughts of yours, and don't let me know that you still harbor feelings for anyone else otherwise. He leaned close, his gaze almost spitting fire, every word chillingly cold. I will completely destroy you. The next day, Yunyin was awakened by the vibration of her phone. Her eyes were swollen, and tears still lingered at the corners. She moved slightly, and aches bloomed all over her body. Her bones felt as if they had come apart. A man's large hand reached for the phone on the bedside table. She followed the hand upward. The black shirt sleeves were rolled up, and the cufflinks refracted a subdued light. Jiang Yinyin had just come out of the shower. His shirt buttons weren't fully fastened. The light in the bedroom was dim, obscured by the curtains. His tall figure loomed by the headboard, like a demon of the dark night. He answered the phone. She couldn't hear what was being said on the other end. It seemed related to business. Jiang Yinyin only listened, finally saying, "All right, got it." After the call ended, silence returned to the bedroom. Yunyin closed her eyes. She didn't want to look at him. Jiang Yinyin wasn't in a hurry to leave. After putting his phone away, he stood by the bed, looking down at her, slowly buttoning his shirt. "You don't need to go to the company for a while." Yunyin jolted, turning to look at him, emotions flickering in her eyes. "Why?" "The project department isn't shorthanded, and as for a CEO's assistant." Jiang Yinyin adjusted his cufflink, a half-smile playing on his lips. "I prefer you in bed." Yunyin sat up slightly. "But I still have work." "Someone will take over your work." Jiang Yinyin's gaze swept over her, undisguised. His gaze was boldly intrusive. As it slowly traced down her neck, adorned with hickeys, his eyes deepened profoundly. Yunyin instinctively pulled the covers higher, blocking his ill-intentioned gaze. She shrank back into bed, lying there, face turned towards the window, not arguing with him. Jiang Yinyin sat down by the bed. He reached into the covers, lightly covering her back. Yunyin's whole body tensed. The man's warmth slowly traced down her spine, like igniting a string of kindling, burning all the way to her tailbone. Yunyin's whole body was very tense, fearing he might get another whim. She didn't move. "So, you plan to keep me captive?" As her words fell, she felt the man lean in, a low chuckle sounding from above her head. "No, I just think you won't have the strength to wander around today. You might as well stay home and recuperate." Yunyin bit her lip tightly. After Jiang Yinyin left, the emotion she had held back for so long finally erupted. Ignoring the aches in her body, she scrambled out of bed, grabbed a pillow, and hurled it at the headboard with all her might. Only when feathers filled the room did she stop, collapsing onto the bed, limp as mud. All the aches returned, this time trapping her like a tide. She truly had no strength left. Last night, it had naturally been unavoidable. Fueled by a heart full of rage, Yunyin felt as though she had endured another ordeal. Lately, Jiang Yinyin had changed his ways, showing tenderness in their intimate moments. Although her pleas would still come thick and fast when he was roused, he had patiently nurtured her passion, indulging her little by little from unaccustomed discomfort to acceptance, then to self-forgetting ecstasy. Last night, their battlefield moved from the living room to the bedroom. He even pressed her against the mirror, forcing her to watch herself in that moment, the vast room becoming his playground for unrestrained pleasure. He forced her to keep her eyes open throughout, not allowing her to close them, not allowing her to escape. He wanted her to see clearly who she was making love with, and forced her to swear not to go near Zhan Chuan, not to have any relationship with him. If her words weren't to his satisfaction, it would only lead to even wilder extremes from him. She had passed out. When she regained consciousness, the man on top of her was stirring again. He bit her lip, chuckling softly as he sighed, so alluring and so tight. It's never enough. Because he could never get enough, he vented his boundless energy on her again and again. Yinyin curled up on the bed, waves of cold washing over her body. The path between her and Jiang Yinyin was one where the future was invisible. Even if she could vaguely see, it was only a pitch-black expanse. Less than an hour later, old Lu brought a nanny over. Old Lu didn't enter the room, but spoke to Yunyin from behind a door. "This is Sister Bai. Just tell her if you need anything. You can also call me anytime if something comes up." Sister Bai was light-footed and discreet. If Yunyin didn't speak, she wouldn't easily disturb her. Yunyin nestled in bed, drowsily falling asleep several times. Sister Bai didn't wake her, waiting until she woke up before reheating the meal and politely reminding Yunyin that it was time to eat. It was already afternoon. The dishes on the table were perfect in color, aroma, and taste, indeed, all her favorites. But Sister Bai was new and wouldn't know her preferences, which could only mean one thing. Someone had already informed Sister Bai of her likes before she arrived. Yunyin had no appetite. After a quick wash, she chose a plain white loungewear set and sat with her legs curled by the French window, looking outside. She was already slender and petite. The loose loungewear only made her appear more delicate, her thick, slightly wavy long hair cascading down her shoulders. Sister Bai glanced towards the French window, sighing at how truly beautiful the girl was, like a painting. But as she watched, she felt something was wrong. Yunyan's body seemed to be trembling, and she gradually curled into herself, appearing quite uncomfortable. Jiang Yunyan rushed to the hospital the moment he heard, practically running all the way to the ward. Old Lu followed behind, normally so agile, but at this moment, even he found it difficult to keep up with Jiang Yunyan's pace. The attending doctor knew who he was, and who the woman on the hospital bed was. When explaining the condition to Jiang Yunyan, the doctor spoke cautiously. High fever, and the comprehensive examination showed it was more of a physical stress response. Coupled with her previous illness from which she hadn't fully recovered, it led to this hospitalization. Jiang Yunyan asked the doctor, "What kind of stress response?" The doctor pondered for a moment, then asked Jiang Yunyan, "Young Master Yin, has your little niece started dating?" If the doctor had been a man, asking this would have made Jiang Yunyan suspicious, but fortunately, she was a woman. "What do you mean?" Jiang Yunyan's voice was deep. "Your niece, she—" "Address her as Miss Yu." Jiang Yunyan mildly interrupted her, correcting her. The repeated mention of niece irritated him greatly. The doctor saw Jiang Yunyan's slight frown, and a sudden surge of pressure intensified in her heart. She hadn't even gotten to the main point yet. The doctor cleared her throat. Miss Yu's physical exhaustion is directly related to strenuous sexual activity. That's why I wanted to understand if it was caused by a boyfriend or if she encountered an accident where the other party coerced her, causing her considerable harm. She paused and added, "I'm more inclined to believe Miss Yu was raped. Do you think we should call the police?" Old Lu, standing by the door of the doctor's office, subconsciously glanced at Jiang Yunyan's profile after hearing the last sentence, secretly worrying for the doctor. Jiang Yunyan's face indeed darkened. The doctor stood before Jiang Yunyan and immediately felt the surrounding atmosphere turn cold. She couldn't help but shiver, thinking, could she really have been raped by someone? Young Master Yan's expression looks off. He clearly just found out, Miss Yu's current relationship with the Jiang family was widely known, especially in this hospital. But the doctor had also heard a rumor that young Master Yin of the capital doted on his newly recognized niece, reportedly even personally recruiting her to the company and grooming her. A while ago, she had also heard in this department about young Master Yan's niece being hospitalized, but the specifics were kept tightly under wraps. It was said that many junior nurses in other departments gossiped about young Master Yin and wanted to find out more, but no one in that department, from the director down to the junior nurses, would reveal anything to outsiders. The only scattered fragments of information that got out were from the cleaning lady. That auntie, naturally unaware of the patient and family's identities, simply commented on how pleasing to the eye the handsome men and beautiful women were. If the rumors were true, wouldn't young Master Yin be furious after learning of this? Call the police? Jiang Yunyan sneered. What could they possibly find out? The doctor misunderstood. There's not much evidence, but that doesn't mean no traces can be found. There are always traces left when a man and a woman are intimate. She then mumbled. The perpetrator's actions were too despicable, truly a beast. Old Lu, standing at the other end, broke into a cold sweat. Jiang Yunyan's face grew even darker. The doctor looked up and thought, young Master Yin truly dotes on his niece. Look how angry he is. Perhaps the Jiang family won't even need to wait for the police to take action. Oh, what a tragedy. Such a beautiful girl, a high and mighty young lady. How could she have encountered such a thing? It must be because she was too beautiful, which caused men to harbor ill intentions. When will she wake up? Jiang Yunyan's voice was impossibly cold when he spoke. The doctor said, Miss Yu is unconscious due to severe physical exhaustion. There's no danger to her life. Simply put, her body and mind are too tired. She'll wake up after sufficient rest, perhaps tomorrow morning or the day after. It depends on her individual condition. Jiang Yunyan asked coldly, not caused by an organic disease? Please rest assured. No, the doctor said softly. Her fever has also subsided, so there's no need to worry too much. It's not impossible for the fever to recur, but that's fine. It's a normal reaction of the body's recovery. Jiang Yunyan thought for a moment and then asked, can she be discharged? It's best to remain hospitalized for observation, at least until Miss Yu wakes up, the doctor advised. Jiang Yunyan acknowledged with a nod and then left without looking back. The doctor stood there, feeling shivers run down her spine. Old Lu stepped forward and asked the doctor, how many people in the hospital know about Miss Yu's condition? Upon hearing this, the doctor immediately understood why the previous department had kept their mouths shut. She quickly replied, only I and the examining doctors know the specifics. Oh, and 2 junior nurses from the department. Old Lu nodded slightly, instructing, please do not mention Miss Yu's condition to outsiders, and I trouble you to tell those few as well. Young Master Yin dislikes gossips, after all. He paused, then continued. Once he's angered, even the director of this hospital might face severe consequences, let alone you, the attending doctor. The doctor felt a chill run down her spine and nodded repeatedly. Understood. Only after old Lou left did the doctor react. Then, should I call the police? On second thought, the Jiang family's influence was so vast, there was no need for others to worry about handling this matter. In the ward, Sister Bai was explaining the situation to Jiang Yinyan. Madam didn't even eat. When she came out of the bedroom, I already thought she looked very unwell, but I remembered your instructions, so I didn't dare disturb Madam easily. Sister Bai wasn't an old retainer of the Jiang family. She came from a professional domestic service agency. Such people were tight-lipped and knew their boundaries, so she only knew the surname of the master she served, never asking about their family background. Sister Bai was an experienced housekeeper. If she was ever unsure of the relationship between the master and mistress after entering a home, she would simply address them as Mr. and Madam, a clever habit. After Yunyan collapsed, Sister Bai immediately called Jiang Yinyan, as he had instructed her in advance to report any household matters to him promptly. So, Sister Bai reported every detail, such as when Yunyan woke up and what she was doing. Before Yunyan collapsed, Sister Bai was busy reheating food and didn't notice, and something happened in that momentary distraction. When she called Jiang Yinyan, she reported that Madam had collapsed. In her previous calls, she had also referred to the young lady of the house as Madam. Seeing that Mr. didn't correct her, she thought this address must be correct, so after arriving at the hospital and seeing Jiang Yinyan, she continued using the same title as on the phone. It was quite frightening when Madam collapsed. Her face was ashen, and her forehead was covered in sweat, Sister Bai said. Jiang Yinyan sat by the bedside, watching Yunyan on the bed without blinking. As Sister Bai spoke, she carefully observed the man by the bedside. She could tell he had come straight from work, looking weary. Sister Bai wouldn't ask what exactly happened. She would never say an extra word about what she shouldn't ask. Jiang Yinyan thanked Sister Bai and had old Lu take her home first. The ward grew quiet, but Jiang Yinyan couldn't calm down. His mind was in turmoil. How pale Yunyan was, he could see with his own eyes. He didn't need Sister Bai to elaborate. Jiang Yinyan just watched her, constantly having the illusion that she could be swept away by a gust of wind. She had changed into a hospital gown. Even the smallest size looked loose and baggy on her. Jiang Yinyan reached out to adjust her collar, incidentally covering the obvious hickeys on her neck and chest. He admitted he had been insane last night. It was that impulse to devour her whole, or rather, he simply wanted to fall into hell with her, never to return. He knew she was in pain, but the more she struggled during the act, the angrier he became, and then the more he wanted to conquer. His gaze was deep. After a long time, he raised a hand to gently stroke her temple, once, then again, desperately wanting to see her wake up. He had almost forgotten. She was a girl who was extremely afraid of pain. Just having blood drawn at the hospital would make her whole body go limp with fear. He would gently hug her, comforting her, saying, "It's all right, just don't look when they're drawing blood." So, whenever they drew blood, she would turn her face away. Seeing this, he would step forward, gently pull her head to his chest, and soothe her. Each time Yunyan got sick from eating something bad and ended up in a hospital and needed blood tests, they had formed a silent understanding. The moment the nurse picked up the needle, her face would bury itself in him. Gently patting the back of her head, he would always think, how could there be such a timid girl in this world? Jiang Yinyan reached out and pulled her hand into his. Only then did he see the scratch marks on her wrist. Remembering how she had gently held her own wrist at the banquet earlier, a pang of pain shot through Jiang Yinyan's heart. His actions had indeed made things worse for her. It was already late at night when Zhang Chuan emerged from his office. He had been so consumed by Zhang Xuanwen's case recently that he had lost track of time, barely looking up at the sky when entering the prosecutor's office or down to the ground when leaving. He had almost forgotten what normal life felt like. While waiting for the elevator, Zhang Chuan inadvertently thought of Yunyan. Her face was bright and captivating. Every time he thought of it, it could soothe away his work weariness and fatigue. Except, Zhang Chuan frowned slightly. As a man himself, Zhang Chuan saw Jiang Yinyan's behavior in the lounge, and it was crystal clear to him. Jiang Yinyan harbored an extremely strong desire for control and possessiveness over Yunyan. Zhang Chuan was confident he wasn't mistaken about this. And Yunyan? He remembered her terrified gaze. Yes, Jiang Yinyan. Zhang Chuan's brows furrowed, even tighter. The elevator door opened, and a person stepped out. Seeing Zhang Chuan, they quickly called out, "Prosecutor Zhang." Zhang Chuan was still thinking about Yunyan and took a while to react. It was Liang Qi, his assistant. Don't let his youth fool you. He was skilled at investigating cases. "Prosecutor Zhang, are you heading home?" "No, what is it?" Zhang Chuan had originally planned to go home after work. Zhang Xianwen had been apprehended, but more trouble lay ahead, so he wanted to snatch any moment he could to rest. But seeing Liang Qi return so late, he turned his steps towards the office, gesturing for Liang Qi to talk as they walked. At this hour, what Zhan Chuan had asked Liang Qi to do was personal. Liang Qi had thoroughly investigated Yu Zhuanzhou's situation, reporting every detail about Yu Wanzhou and Fang Yuan Company's recent developments. Also, I heard something today, Liang Qi said. As they spoke, they reached the office door. Zhan Chuan stopped and asked, "What is it?" Liang Qi leaned closer to him and whispered something. Upon hearing this, Zhan Chuan's eyes widened. After a long time, he asked Liang Qi, "Are you sure your friend wasn't mistaken?" Jiang Yinyan didn't leave the hospital, staying by the bedside. Yinyan had been rushed in, so she was in a standard single room, not a VIP suite with an accompanying bed. However, Jiang Yinyan hadn't intended to rest anyway. While handling official business, he also kept an eye on Yunyan's condition, relieved that her fever hadn't returned. Later, at some unknown point, Jiang Yinyan fell asleep. But his sleep was restless. He drifted into a dream, or rather, a nightmare. He saw Yunyan wake up and walk over to him, looking at him. He looked back at her, wanting to open his mouth to ask what was wrong, but he couldn't speak, couldn't move. The ward seemed quite bright, suggesting it was daytime. Yunyan stood before him and said, "Jiang Yinyan, I'm leaving." He was frantic, repeatedly trying to get up and pull her back, but it was useless. He saw doctors and nurses enter the ward. They seemed happy to see Yunyan awake, saying it was good she woke up and that her husband had been worried sick. A man stood beside the doctor, walked forward, and took Yunyan's hand. Jiang Yinyan strained to see, and the person looked like Zhan Chuan. Immediately, he was consumed by rage. The man asked the doctor if she could leave, and the doctor repeatedly said, "Yes, she can go. Your wife is fine now." Jiang Yinyan's fury surged, and he wished he could cut out the doctor's tongue. Asterisk wife? Whose wife? Asterisk yet, he still couldn't move. Watching the man lead Yunyan away, Jiang Yinyan desperately cried out, "Don't go, don't you dare go." He wanted to forcefully break free from this powerlessness, but he was jolted awake by his phone vibrating. Jiang Yinyan suddenly found he could move, gasping for breath. His first instinct was to look at the bed. Yunyan was still lying there. Was it a dream? But it felt too real. So real that he felt as if he had been awake the entire time, not dreaming at all. Jiang Yinyan calmed down a bit before realizing his heart was pounding fiercely. He answered his phone, and at the same time, reached out to touch Yunyan's forehead. No fever. It was Lao Lu, his voice deep. "Young Master Yin, is Miss Yu's condition stable?" Lao Lu asking like that meant something had happened. Jiang Yinyan said, "Everything's fine for now. What's wrong?" "It's about the project. Someone blew up the foundation in Nanzhou, alarming the higher-ups," Lao Lu stated concisely. Jiang Yinyan frowned slightly. "I've already brought the car around," Lao Lu said. Ending the call, Jiang Yinyan glanced at the time. Dawn, the darkest hour. 10 minutes later, he went downstairs. Lao Lu had the car parked steadily. Seeing Jiang Yinyan descend, Lao Lu got out and opened the back door, then explained, "Yang Li booked an early flight over. This matter isn't simple." Jiang Yinyan got into the car, his thoughts meticulous. Is it related to Lord Bu? 9 times out of 10. Otherwise, who would dare touch that project? Lao Lu started the car. As Lao Lu backed out, Jiang Yinyan looked up at the hospital building and instructed, "Call Sister Bai and ask her to come to the hospital." Also, he deliberated for a moment. Send 2 more bodyguards over. Lao Lu was surprised, glancing into the rearview mirror. He could understand calling Sister Bai, but bodyguards too? Was it necessary? However, Lao Lu never questioned Jiang Yinyan's decisions, so he agreed. As the car headed towards the hospital gate, it passed an ambulance, followed by a commercial van, presumably trailing the ambulance. They just crossed paths. The ambulance's flashing lights were unsettling. Jiang Yinyan drove straight to the company. He immediately held a video conference with the Nanzhou project manager. They had been waiting for Jiang Yinyan and looked as if they'd seen a savior when he appeared. "Have all the compensation payments been settled?" Jiang Yinyan went straight to the crucial point. The Nanzhou project manager confirmed they had all been settled. Because the project was too important to allow any mistakes, there had been no delay in the compensation payments. Everything that needed to be dispersed had been, and no one would dare embezzle the money during this period. He was referring to the compensation for the original residents of that land. The location targeted for the Nanzhou Economic Development Zone used to be a fishing village with many indigenous residents, and land acquisition compensation had been negotiated house by house. Surveillance cameras captured the figure of the troublemaker. "They don't look like local residents," Nanzhou reported, sending over a photo. It was a surveillance image, not very clear. The troublemaker seemed very familiar with the surrounding terrain, able to avoid cameras perfectly, so only a blurry profile was barely captured. Even with enlargement and enhancement, The person's face couldn't be made out, but from their skin tone and general outline, they indeed resembled someone from Southeast Asia. Another important point was that this person looked physically strong, as if specially trained. Jiang Yinyan glanced at Lao Lu. Lao Lu stepped forward to look at the photo, then exchanged a look with Jiang Yinyan, nodding slightly. Their thoughts were aligned. What time is Yang Li's flight? Jiang Yinyan asked. Lao Lu checked the time. He'll arrive at the airport in 3 hours. Assign 2 skilled men to accompany him. He's about to become a father. We can't afford any mishaps. Jiang Yinyan considered carefully. Lao Lu immediately went to make the arrangements. In the conference room, the Nanzhou people were still reporting, but Jiang Yinyan strangely lost focus. He didn't know why, but his thoughts drifted to the hospital. He turned to look at the sky outside. It was heavy, and the light on the horizon was still dim and unclear, as if fighting a final battle with the pervasive darkness. He thought of the commercial van that had followed the ambulance. As they passed, its headlights seemed to have swept across a license plate. Jiang Yinyan recalled carefully, his thoughts returning entirely to that car. It was as if something eerie was at play. He kept thinking of that car. Suddenly, he remembered the license plate. Jiang Yinyan's brow furrowed. Was it a coincidence? He inadvertently remembered the dream he had in the ward, and a shiver ran through him. The next moment, Jiang Yinyan paused the meeting, turned, and called Sister Bai. Sister Bai answered quickly, reporting to Jiang Yinyan that she was just entering the elevator and would be at the ward soon. Jiang Yinyan didn't hang up, waiting on the line. Lao Lu came in and said, "Everything's arranged." Jiang Yinyan merely gave a slight nod. Lao Lu saw that his expression wasn't right, filled with suspicion. What was wrong? Was the Nanzhou project not progressing smoothly? As he was thinking, a frantic voice came from the other end of the phone. Mister, speak." Lao Lu jolted, a premonition of ill omen spontaneously arising in his heart. Why did the voice on the phone sound like Sister Bai's? The thought had barely crossed his mind when Jiang Yinyan suddenly stood up. "To the hospital." Yun Yen has been taken away." "What?" The hospital was in chaos. According to Sister Bai, she left home immediately after receiving the call, without a half-minute's delay, but when she arrived at the ward, she found the bed empty. The on-duty doctors and nurses were all distraught. While Jiang Yinyan was watching the surveillance footage, they were being questioned, stating that just before dawn was the quietest time in the entire hospital, and they had never imagined a patient would be taken away then. Jiang Yinyan didn't explicitly demand accountability for this matter, but the hospital leadership rushed over upon hearing about it, and everyone from the on-duty doctor to the gatekeeper was severely reprimanded. Lao Lu came out and told the relevant personnel, "Check the surveillance first, and don't publicize this matter yet." The surveillance was prepared at Jiang Yinyan's instruction to Lao Lu after he got into the car. He wanted to confirm his deduction. Indeed, the target was quickly identified. It was Zhan Chuan. He entered the ward quite openly. The timestamp showed it was not long after Jiang Yinyan had left. Soon, he emerged from the ward, holding Yun Yen in his arms, Yun Yen wrapped in Zhan Chuan's overcoat. Zhan Chuan seemed to care nothing about being filmed by the cameras, showing no hesitation even under the bright elevator lights, taking Yun Yen away right under Jiang Yinyan's nose. In front of the surveillance footage, Jiang Yinyan's face grew increasingly ashen with rage, his eyes almost spitting fire, his large hands unconsciously clenching, in a rhythm that screamed he wanted to punch someone. The hospital leadership broke out in a cold sweat upon seeing this, and Lao Lu was also deeply uneasy. When the cameras even caught Zhan Chuan's car, Lao Lu finally remembered the scene of them crossing paths earlier. It wasn't a family vehicle accompanying the ambulance after all. The surrounding air grew cold. The hospital representative, though reluctant, had to step forward, braving it to repeatedly apologize to Jiang Yinyan, adding, "This is indeed an oversight on the hospital's part. We will resolve this immediately." Jiang Yinyan said nothing, his lips pressed together, his jawline tense, stern, and severe. He ultimately didn't utter a word, turning and leaving the surveillance room. The hospital staff were wiping cold sweat, unsure how to proceed. Seeing this, Lao Lu told the hospital, "Again, don't publicize this matter yet. If someone comes to handle discharge procedures for the patient, detain them and notify us immediately." Once in the car, Jiang Yinyan didn't tell Lao Lu to drive immediately. "Find Zhan Chuan's phone number and address, now." Lao Lu immediately complied. But before he could find it, Jiang Yinyan's phone rang. An unknown number. Jiang Yinyan narrowed his eyes slightly, answered, and without waiting for the other party to speak, directly asked, "Return Yun Yen." A low chuckle came from the other end of the phone. As expected of young Master Yin, quite quick. "Zhan Chuan, what do you want?" Jiang Yinyan's tone was icy. Hearing this, Lao Lu stopped his dialing, a jolt running through him. Zhan Chuan had actually called him directly, seemingly wanting a head-on confrontation. "Young Master Yin is busy. I'm afraid he doesn't have the energy to care for Yun Yan. Besides, she's grown up now, so there's no need for young Master Yin to worry, Zhan Chuan said unhurriedly. Jiang Yinyan gritted his teeth, speaking with cold severity. Is it your place to say such things? Zhan Chuan, you'd better bring Yun Yan back, or don't blame me for disregarding social conventions. When has young Master Yin ever shown anyone respect? The girl you once swore to protect was left bruised and battered by you. Are you still worthy of trust? Zhan Chuan said coldly. I won't let her come back. Also, let me kindly remind you, take care of yourself first. The fire in Nanzhou, this matter could be big or small. Jiang Yinyan, frankly, I don't believe you're without connections, so you'd best rein yourself in. He hung up after speaking. The car interior was silent. Dazzling light broke through the horizon, falling upon Jiang Yinyan's stern brow. Yet his eyes held no warmth at all, cold as frost in the depths of winter. Find the address. Jiang Yinyan gritted his teeth fiercely. He wouldn't take Yun Yan anywhere else. Lao Lu understood Jiang Yinyan was on the verge of exploding with rage, merely holding it back. But he still had to speak the truth. The Zhan family situation is peculiar. It's difficult to locate the residences of Zhan family members. Nearby signals are all shielded. Zhan Chuan's address was indeed hard to find. Old Lu was right. The Zhan family wasn't merely in business. Especially with Zhan Chuan's current sensitive identity, much of his information was protected. The monk may run, but the temple stays. The next day, Jiang Yinyan went straight to the procuratorate, only to be told that Prosecutor Zhan was on leave. Jiang Yinyan felt a murderous impulse, then drove directly to the Zhan family's old residence to demand for the person. The reason given was that Zhan Chuan had taken away someone from the Jiang family without permission. This accusation, depending on how it's handled, could be a big or small issue. If the Zhan family's old residents didn't handle it well, they would offend the Jiang family. Moreover, this matter couldn't be kept secret. Even old Mrs. Jiang knew about it. But the old lady only knew that Yun Yan was sick and hospitalized, and that the Zhan family's son had taken her away without authorization before she even woke up. As for the deeper implications, the old lady was unaware. She made a call to the Zhan family's old residence. Though not enraged, her tone was authoritative, saying, Yin Yan is my most beloved granddaughter. Isn't what your Zhan family did a bit excessive? However, after the phone call, the old lady lost her temper. Only then did Jiang Yinyan realize that Yuan Zhou had gone to the hospital and completed Yun Yan's discharge procedures. When Jiang Yinyan rushed to the hospital without stopping, he caught Yuan Zhou red-handed. I am Yun Yan's brother. Regardless of blood relation, we are listed on the same household registration. Yuan Zhou brought out his trump card, saying word by word, therefore, whether it's in front of you or Zhan Chuan, I am the most qualified person. Yuan Zhou's words were indeed faultless. At least the hospital certainly had no right to prevent someone from completing discharge procedures. Jiang Yinyan sneered. Yuan Zhou, I don't want to make things difficult for you. My demand is simple. I only want Yun Yan. Yuan Zhou chuckled. Excuse me, but I think this matter should be decided after my sister wakes up. She acknowledges old Mrs. Jiang, but she hasn't acknowledged you, young Master Yan. You'd best look out for yourself. Your sister still hasn't woken up? Jiang Yinyan frowned deeply. And you still discharge her like this? Yuan Zhou, if anything happens to her, I won't forgive you. My sister's affairs have nothing to do with young Master Yan. Zhan Chuan didn't go to work. He knew Jiang Yinyan and understood that by his nature, he wouldn't let things go. His subordinate called, reporting that Jiang Yinyan had already put pressure on the higher-ups. It seems you've really angered him this time, he said. He added, Prosecutor Zhan, although I'm not clear about your relationship with Miss Yu, you'll be at a disadvantage if you keep pushing back like this. There's no benefit in going against the Jiang family, especially when the opponent is Jiang Yinyan. Zhan Chuan had indeed received calls from his superiors, and the pressure was considerable. He sneered. As expected of young Master Yan from the capital, his influence truly reaches the heavens. Just considering how Jiang Yinyan was able to get Yuan Zhou out of Zhang Xuanwen's hands back then, his capabilities are indeed not to be underestimated. Yinyan woke up once midway, feeling groggy. Shortly after being brought back, she developed a fever. Zhan Chuan had no intention of resting. He repeatedly wiped her forehead and limbs with a warm towel to physically lower her temperature. It was while she had a fever that she slightly opened her eyes, looked at him, and her lips trembled. Zhan Chuan leaned down to hear what she was saying, then gently stroked her head and softly said, It's all right. Everything will pass. Later, the fever subsided, and she fell asleep again. Zhan Chuan didn't sleep a wink all night. After Yuan Zhou arrived, he simply prepared some food. Yuan Zhou had no intention of reminiscing with Zhan Chuan. For this half-brother, there was no old bond to renew between them. He was there primarily to take Yun Yan away. Zhan Chuan said, It's very difficult for Jiang Yinyan to get in here. Without my permission, you couldn't get in either. So, Wanzhou, do you think your residents can stop Jiang Yinyan? I don't understand what you're doing. Is this to discuss the Zhan family's affairs with me? Is that why you took my sister? Yuan Zhou frowned. Early that morning, he received a call from Zhan Chuan. It was sudden, but also within his expectations. He knew Zhan Chuan would eventually call. He just hadn't expected Zhan Chuan to call about Yun Yin, asking him to handle her discharge procedures. Zhan Chuan thought for a moment and said, "Come in with me first." Yun Yin was sleeping in the master bedroom. It was evident that Zhan Chuan had changed the sheets and duvet covers, showing he was a thoughtful person. Yuan Zhou walked over and sat by the bed, softly calling Yun Yin, but she didn't respond. But then Yuan Zhou saw something he shouldn't have. The loose patient gown couldn't hide her neck, where hickeys of varying shades were glaringly obvious. Yuan Zhou's breathing quickened, and he understood what had happened. Although he knew Yun Yin was with Jiang Yinyan before, such behavior clearly didn't treat Yun Yin as a human being. She had purely become a tool for gratification. That beast! Yuan Zhou's teeth itched with hatred, and he stood up indignantly. Zhan Chuan suddenly asked, "Can you contend with him if you go now?" Yuan Zhou clenched his fists. "Even if I drag him down to hell with me, I'll accept it," he said, and was about to leave. "What about Fang Yuan? Does the Yu family not want to make a comeback?" Zhan Chuan snarled. "Do you think you have the power to drag him down with you? In the end, your sister will be the one to pay the price for you." Yuan Zhou's steps abruptly halted. Zhan Chuan slowly walked forward. "You can't do anything now, because you don't have the power to contend with Jiang Yinyan." He walked up to Yuan Zhou, meeting his gaze. "I know we have no friendship, and I understand you dislike the Zhan family. But Yuan Zhou, I'm not your enemy. Since Jiang Yinyan is your enemy, then you and I can become allies. Don't you want your sister to have the confidence to break free from Jiang Yinyan?" Yuan Zhou slightly narrowed his eyes at him. "What is your purpose?" Zhan Chuan's gaze was calm. "My purpose is very simple. To allow the old master to rest in peace when he dies. Wanzhou, I believe in your abilities, but it's too slow. So you must, and can only, rely on the Zhan family's power. Only when you have power can you dare to do things you never considered before, and only then will you be able to protect those you wish to protect." Yuan Zhou pressed his lips tightly together, saying nothing. He turned to glance at Yun Yan on the bed, a flicker of hesitation in his eyes. Zhan Chuan saw the hesitation in his eyes. Yuan Zhou asked him, "Enter officialdom?" "No," Zhan Chuan said. "Business." Yuan Zhou was taken aback. "The food is ready. Let's eat and talk." Yun Yan woke up in the afternoon, only then realizing she wasn't at Jiang Yinyan's house. Her memories were hazy, stopping at the point where she got up and went to the living room. At the time, she felt unwell all over, had a fever, and her lower abdomen ached terribly. What happened after that, she didn't know. When the bedroom door opened, she saw Zhan Chuan, and only then realized she was at his house. The light in the bedroom was dim, blocked by sheer curtains, but outside the door was a large expanse of dazzling light. Zhan Chuan, dressed in an off-white outfit, walked in against the light, his brows, eyes, and broad shoulders appearing to be imbued with a layer of brilliant radiance. Yun Yin had a moment of trance, as if she saw Zhan Chuan from his student days. After simply drinking some plain porridge, Yun Yin learned what exactly had happened, especially when she realized she had been forcibly brought back by Zhan Chuan. She was filled with anxiety. After putting down the bowl, she said, "I can't be here. Jiang Yinyan is not to be provoked." Zhan Chuan reassured her, "If you want to leave, I can't stop you. I brought you here simply because I don't want Jiang Yinyan to harm you again. I know why you are with him. If you leave him, I won't let you have any worries." Yun Yin was startled, but quickly reacted, "Zhou." Zhan Chuan knew she was intelligent and understood things quickly. He softly said, "Wanzhou is an adult. How he chooses is his right." Yun Yin's breathing grew tighter and tighter. After a long while, she said, "Prosecutor Zhan, you really are." She looked at him, her eyes complex, and then continued, going to great lengths. Zhan Chuan anticipated she would think this, and his gaze tightened. "Yuan Zhou isn't a child anymore. He can't always be your weakness. You know perfectly well that if you don't leave Jiang Yinyan, the Yu family will always be controlled by others in the future. Besides, you've suffered enough harm from him." Yun Yin was silent for a long time, then said, "I want to call Zhou." Her phone wasn't with her. Zhan Chuan handed her his phone. Seeing her looking at him, he sighed softly and left the bedroom without another word. Yun Yin clutched the phone, making several attempts before the call went through. Yuan Zhou was quite happy to learn she had woken up. He told her, "We'll leave North City immediately after the press conference." The press conference was tonight. Yuan Zhou told her that Zhan Chuan's place was safer. "Stay there with peace of mind. I'll pick you up after Mom is settled." Yun Yin's throat felt terribly tight. It took her a while to find her voice. "Zhou, you don't need to live for anyone else. Do you understand what I mean?" "Sister, Yu Wanzhou sighed softly. What about when you endured all those things for me and for the Yu family? Not once did I feel at ease. Now, what I'm doing isn't just for you, but even more so for the Yu family. I can't let the Yu family wait any longer. Yu Wanzhou was very resolute. After the call ended, Yunyan leaned back wearily against the headboard, her heart aching deeply, churning with emotion. Because of Azhou's matter, and also her own matter, she remembered everything clearly from before she fell unconscious. Every single word Jiang Yinyan had said still caused a pang in her heart when she thought about it now. Yunyan, what exactly are you hoping for? How could you have hope? When he showed signs of caring for her, when he introduced her to people in his circle, when Mo La told her, then why do you think he brought you to this kind of banquet? She had misjudged, right? What could be more humiliating than this? It must be his new game, lifting her to the heavens, then brutally dropping her down. The phone suddenly vibrated in her palm. Yunyan looked down. It was an unknown number, but this number, her eyes slightly widened in shock. For her, it wasn't unfamiliar. The caller dialed again and again, very persistent. Yunyan thought for a long time, then answered the phone. Without waiting for the other side to speak, she addressed him first, Jiang Yinyan. The person on the other end was clearly startled and quickly said, Yunyan? Let me go. Yunyan calmly interrupted him. Jiang Yinyan on the other end thought he'd misheard. What? The other end of the phone fell silent for a long time. So long that Yunyan mistakenly thought he had hung up. Only then did she hear him say, his voice heavy, Yunyan, I'm giving you a chance. Come back obediently now, and I'll overlook everything. Threat and danger arrived in tandem. Even across the airwaves, Yunyan could distinctly feel his oppressive force, like a hand strangling her neck, making her gasp for breath in waves. She said, we agreed on 1 year initially, but Jiang Yinyan, please, for goodness sake, just let me go. I really can't take it anymore. Let's just end it here. Yunyan, do you think this is a wet market where you can haggle? Jiang Yinyan's voice sounded even colder and more cutting. Yunyan got up and walked to the window, looking at the distant horizon, blindingly bright. Yet she felt not a shred of warmth. It was Jingzhe, awakening of insects, and all things were beginning to revive, so she was bound to foster a desire for rebirth. To live facing the sun, no longer wishing to be trapped in a swamp. She said softly, Jiang Yinyan, in your heart, I'm no different from an item of merchandise, or perhaps even less than merchandise. To you, I'm just a cheap commodity. Jiang Yinyan sneered. You're dead set on leaving? Yes, Yunyan said, please, young Master Yin, grant my wish. For you, those words grant your wish don't exist. Yunyan's hand pressed hard against the window pane, her fingers aching from the pressure. Then, young Master Yin, what will it take for you to let me go? Unless you die, or, Jiang Yinyan said coldly, you kill me. Yunyan's breath hitched. Yunyan, don't harbor useless thoughts. What if Yu Wanzhou returns to the Zhan family? Do you really think I have no way to deal with you? Jiang Yinyan sneered, his tone extremely impolite. Yunyan gripped her phone, knowing without looking what expression Jiang Yinyan wore as he spoke those words. After a long while, she said, I just have one question. Will you honor our agreement and let me go after a year? The voice from the other end of the phone was chilling, even a little bit gnashing teeth. Yunyan, don't dream. I will never let you go in this lifetime. Upon hearing this, Yunyan's heart plummeted, sinking into boundless darkness. She struggled to keep her crumbling emotions in check, retorting sarcastically, so, why should I continue to stay by your side and let you trample all over me? Jiang Yinyan's icy voice bored into her ears. What? After being ravaged by me so many times, now you're thinking of playing the pure saint. Yunyan, where haven't I played with you? Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. You want to elope with Zhan Chuan? I will make sure you don't get your wish. Pain flowed from her earlobe into her blood, and Yunyan gasped for breath several times. Jiang Yinyan also suppressed his emotions on the other end. When he spoke again, his voice was much calmer. He said, so, come back obediently. Don't force me to lay a hand on Zhan Chuan. Yunyan gasped. Jiang Yinyan, you're crazy. Jiang Yinyan scoffed. His life is only valuable because of that uniform. Strip him of that skin, and he's nothing more than an ant. If you dare harm an innocent person, I will kill you, Yunyan said word by word. Jiang Yinyan laughed, but his laughter was very cold, and his tone also turned cold. Your wings have truly hardened. Yunyan was about to say something else when the phone was snatched from behind her. She froze, then turned to see Zhan Chuan. Zhan Chuan looked at her with gentle eyes, seemingly offering comfort. Picking up the phone, his voice, however, was distant and deep. Young Master Yin, now you're even threatening women? That doesn't sound like your usual style. Yunyan hadn't expected Zhan Chuan to do this, and her heart grew even more agitated. She didn't blame Jean Chuan for taking matters into his own hands. She was in his place after all, and the bedroom door hadn't been closed when he left earlier. She was just worried that this would further infuriate Jiang Yinyan, and no one knew what the other party might do. It wasn't clear what Jiang Yinyan said on the other end. His voice was naturally deep, and he wouldn't likely become hysterical when facing Jean Chuan. She observed Jean Chuan's expression, seeing his face calm, without a ripple of emotion in the depths of his eyes. However, upon seeing her worried look, he smiled faintly, raised a hand to pat her shoulder, then said lightly into the phone, "I'm ready whenever you are." He added nothing more. After the call ended, Yinyan said, "I know Jiang Yinyan. He won't let this go. He can't swallow this insult. Hiding here with you isn't a solution. I'll have to face him eventually." Jean Chuan looked at her, his gaze deep, yet with an assessing quality. She didn't know what that look in his eyes meant. After a moment, Jean Chuan leaned against the edge of the table. He was tall, but bending down like this made him seem less imposing. He reached out to pull her, and seeing her hesitate, he sighed softly. "Nian Yin, I won't hurt you." He pulled her closer, looking at her. "Do you really know Jiang Yinyan?" Yunyan was slightly startled. He was once her bodyguard, and now he's young master of the Jiang family. You think you know everything about him, but in reality, what you've seen is just the tip of the iceberg. Jean Chuan's voice was low, and there was tenderness and indulgence in his gaze as he looked at her. He was holding her, but there were no inappropriate gestures. His expression seemed serious, yet he showed her more patience and tolerance. The Jiang family is wealthy and powerful, so why was their young master left to wander outside for so many years? Where was he before your father brought him back to the Yu family? Where did he go after leaving the Yu family? Have you thought about these questions? Yunyan had thought about them, and seemed to have gleaned some things from scattered clues, but she hadn't dared to contemplate the deeper implications. "You know." Jean Chuan looked at her, his gaze heavy. At this moment, Yunyan understood that Jean Chuan might be aware of Jiang Yinyan's affairs. Even if not everything, he likely knew many inside details. What did that mean? A subtle chill ran through her heart. He was investigating Jiang Yinyan. Yunyan felt her breath shorten. "Since you know he's dangerous, why are you taking such risks?" "Silly girl," Jean Chuan smiled. "I'm telling you all this to tell you to stay away from Jiang Yinyan and not get involved in his affairs." The press conference was scheduled for the evening, along with a media reception dinner. Yunyan didn't go, nor did she go online to check the live situation. From tonight onwards, Yuanzhou officially returned to the Zhan family, introduced as the Zhan family's second young master. Old Master Zhan was seriously ill and unable to attend, so Jean Chuan, the eldest son of the Zhan family, and other Zhan family elders personally attended the meeting, demonstrating the importance of the event. As the person concerned, Yuanzhou naturally had to be present. Under the flashing lights, dressed in a suit, carrying the dual identities of the Yu and Zhan families, he became the most prominent man in the entire hall, not just because of his identity, but also the power he held. In the months following his return to the Zhan family, he would quickly familiarize himself with Zhan family affairs, fully inheriting and managing the business sector of the Zhan family, doubling his net worth almost overnight. Opinions varied, but the Zhan family's plan was quite clear. The eldest son of the Zhan family would pursue an official career, keeping his hands out of the business world. The second son of the Zhan family would pursue business, not interfering in politics. Regarding this, the reporters present also received confirmation from the Zhan family elders and the eldest son, Jean Chuan. Compared to the bustle outside, Yunyan was curled up on a chaise longue, quietly gazing at the night outside the window. The window faced the garden, and this season wasn't one of blooming flowers, but of scattered night lights like stars and countless colorful lights. It was extremely quiet here, she thought, even quieter than Jiang Yinyan's residence. But the police presence was quite tight. This place truly felt more like an impenetrable iron barrel. Yet, despite such strong security, Yunyan somehow felt uneasy. Jiang Yinyan's words seemed to constantly echo in her ears. "I'm giving you a chance." So, now she had discarded that chance. What Jiang Yinyan might do, she didn't know. She would have to face it eventually. Yunyan first used Jean Chuan's spare phone to call the sanatorium. Her mother's condition was fine. The sanatorium staff said, "Some bodyguard arrived, sent by your brother." Yunyan asked what had happened. The staff said nothing had happened. It was just that some unidentified vehicles had appeared near the sanatorium earlier, and they didn't know what the situation was. Yunyan was startled and asked, "Are there still unidentified vehicles now?" "No, there aren't. Ever since the bodyguards arrived, the sanatorium has been as quiet as before." After ending the call, Yunyan's heart pounded furiously. There was no need to say, those unidentified vehicles were probably Jiang Yinyan's people. Yunyan couldn't figure out what he wanted to do. Go to the sanatorium to arrest someone? Clearly not. That would cause too much of a stir. But if not to arrest someone, then what? Just as she was thinking, her phone rang. It was the sanatorium again. Yin felt a faint, ominous premonition and quickly answered. The staff said, "I just forgot to tell Miss you. Mr. Jiang came to visit your mother." Yin suddenly trembled. "When?" "About 2 hours ago. Your mother really enjoys chatting with him, and they talked for quite a long time." Yin thought for a moment, then suddenly asked, "Are the bodyguards you see now still the same ones you saw before?" The staff clearly didn't understand what she meant, hesitating. "I haven't looked closely because they don't enter the facility. Your brother said that this area has been a bit unstable lately, so he found people to keep watch, but they wouldn't disturb the normal operation of the facility, so—" After ending the call, a chill ran down Yin's spine. It definitely wasn't the batch of bodyguards Yuan Zhou had sent out. Those bodyguards were there to guard against Jiang Yin, but now he had brazenly entered the sanatorium. Clearly those bodyguards had become his people. 2 hours ago. Yin glanced at the time. It was the preparatory stage before the press conference began, with both Zhang Chuan and Yuan Zhou hurrying to the venue to prepare. Yet, there had been no news from the sanatorium's bodyguards. Yin gasped rapidly, her head spinning. Jiang Yin had gone to the sanatorium, but had done nothing, his aim being to tell her that whatever he wanted to do would be effortless, as long as he desired it. Just as she was thinking, she heard a sound at the door. Yin's first thought was that Zhang Chuan had returned, but then she felt that something was wrong. How could Zhang Chuan, one of the most important people of the meeting, be back so early? A faint ominous premonition arose. She stood up from the chair, the blanket gently falling onto the carpet. The door opened at that moment, as if by practiced hand, without even damaging the lock. The man walked in, with several men in black standing outside the entrance. The large hall was coldly lit by moonlight, elongating the silhouette of the man who had entered. But even without the lights on, Yin clearly saw the man's face. As soon as these words were uttered, it was like a giant rock had been thrown into an already turbulent lake, instantly stirring up bigger waves. Jiang Yintai and Tang Hui looked on in disbelief. Old Mrs. Jiang was also stunned. Jiang Zixin was first shocked, then furious. "What did you say?" On the other hand, Ding Jie was very calm. Compared to her active participation just now, she was silent at this moment. Although Yin couldn't lean over to see Ding Jie's expression, a trace of doubt arose in her heart. Ding Jie's reaction seemed a bit strange. There was no need to look closely at Jiang Yin's expression. It was as impassive as ever. He was unhurried even when being wronged, and now he was even more composed. Jiang Yinshi, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke, clearly sneering. "Are you accusing my third brother and now turning your sights on me? Miss G, we usually don't have much contact. That New Year's Eve, when something happened to you, I went to the hospital to help out of respect for my eldest brother's family. Not only are you ungrateful, but you're also trying to shift the blame. Second uncle, are you trying to distance yourself now? You were the one who said you'd find a way to protect me if something came to light. What happened? From New Year's Eve until now, have you protected me? Don't blame me for exposing you now. Since you want me to suffer alone, I'll drag you down to hell with me." Jiang Yinshi sneered. "I don't understand what you're saying, Miss G. Your malicious slander is too obvious, isn't it?" Jiang Yintai looked at Jiang Yinshi, not speaking, but with contemplation in his eyes. Even in the ancestral hall, even with all family members present, Jizi's remarks and actions greatly disgraced the eldest branch, so Tang Hui was very embarrassed. "Jizi, you'd better explain everything clearly to me." Jizi directly faced old Mrs. Jiang, Grandma. The back figure of the servant saw that New Year's Eve was actually second uncle. The person who was with me in the utility room that night was second uncle. He told me to frame third uncle. I gave the servants money and hinted to them that the person having an affair with me was third uncle. All these things were instigated by second uncle. Jiang Yinshi's face gradually darkened. Old Mrs. Jiang's brows were tightly furrowed. It was evident she was suppressing her emotions. "I am at fault. When second uncle approached me, I couldn't control myself. Besides that New Year's Eve, second uncle and I have been together many times before." Jizi's eyes were red, but this time she wasn't crying tearfully. Instead, her voice was quite cold and sharp. It should be said that every time second uncle came to the old house, we were together, and sometimes even in his car. The most recent time was the day before New Year's Eve, on the 29th. If you don't believe me, you can check his car's driving recorder. That period is blank because he turned off the recorder during that time. Jiang Yinshi's voice was cold. "Jizi, you're really good at fabricating lies. What are you trying to do? First my third brother, then me. I think the truly treacherous person is you. Who instigated you to enter the Jiang family and sow discord?" Jizi smiled, with tears in her eyes, staring intently at Jiang Yinshi, her tone indignant. "Sure enough, as soon as something happens, you want to distance yourself, huh? Ding Jie." She then looked at Ding Jie. He hasn't touched you in a long time, has he? He said you were an ice queen while he was with me, and you couldn't bring him any desire. Ding Jie didn't speak. You say I'm treacherous? Jiang Yanqi, who is the treacherous one between us? You wanted to use me to strike at the two Jiang family brothers, hoping to kill two birds with one stone. What happened? Secretly, you never intended to protect me. You just pushed me out to be a scapegoat. GZ then looked at old Mrs. Jiang. Grandma, this time everything I'm saying is true. Jiang Yanqi is jealous of his elder brother and wary of his younger brother. His intentions are damnable. Old Mrs. Jiang's lips were tightly pursed, and her face grew even uglier. Jiang Niantai spoke. Jiang Yanqi told you to frame third brother. Why did you agree? What benefits did he give you? Big brother. Jiang Yanqi was displeased. Do you really believe her? This is simply ridiculous. Throughout the entire process, old Mrs. Jiang was suppressing her anger, and Ding Jie's thoughts were unknown, so the calmest people present were Jiang Yinyan and Yunyan. Yunyan knew the truth, but these words absolutely couldn't come from her mouth. Indeed, a thief is guilty. Jiang Yanqi had remained silent and composed before, typically aloof as if it didn't concern him, but now that he was exposed, although his emotions didn't fluctuate greatly, he spoke more. Why did I agree? GZ smiled bitterly, pointing at Jiang Zhe. Isn't it all because of him? Jiang Zhe glared at her with hatred. Because of me? Did I force you to have an affair? Is there any difference? GZ cried out at Jiang Zhe. Ever since I entered the Jiang family, have you cherished me? The entire Jiang family looks down on me, never treating me as one of their own. And you? You're the same. You never protected me, especially when I had conflicts with your mother. Where were you? You were always the one who hid. And from the moment I entered the Jiang family until now, have you ever touched me? Your heart is only for Yunyan, and you call out her name in your dreams. Since you like her so much, why did you act like a jerk and sleep with me in the first place? Shut up. Jiang Zhe's eyes were bloodshot, and he was furious. Yunyan's heart skipped a beat, being randomly called out like that. Jiang Yunyan's originally calm expression subtly shifted, a dark light flickering deep within his eyes, making them profound and chilling. What? Yunyan is right in front of you, and you're too embarrassed to admit it? Why did I have an affair with your second uncle? You forced me. I also need someone to cherish and love me. Jiang Zhe, have you ever given me these things? GZ went all out. You wouldn't even give me a proper title. Miss G, Ding Jie, who had been silent for a long time, finally spoke. Do you think Jiang Yanqi would give you a proper title?